Hello and welcome to Fandom News-ish. This is your official, unofficial update on the Wizarding World, Disney parks, or whatever my hyperfixation is this week. This one is for my fellow Potterheads.
You're a wizard, right?
Because we need to talk about the biggest reboot in the Wizarding World since Fantastic Beasts, and we all know how that went. HBO's new Harry Potter series is officially in development, and the goal and expectation is more time. It is 7 books told over 10 years, and we are expecting to see things like Spew, Peeves, Ginny's personality. The series is being pitched as a faithful adaptation, emphasis on faithful, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about casting. This background is going to be boring for some of you, but I think some of the initial creative appointments are really important to talk about because their resume tells us what we can expect. So really quick, we have Francesca Gardner, who has won her pitch for showrunner. The showrunner is the person who oversees the entire series in terms of consistency, tone, character development. So it's her job to make sure that the reboot feels cohesive and faithful. Francesca Gardner has been a key writer on Succession, and she also worked on his Dark Materials, and so that tells us right away that she knows high-stakes drama, and also specifically that she has experience taking a young adult fantasy series and turning it into a TV show. The other creative lead I want to talk about is Mark Malloyd, who is Francesca Gardner's colleague from Succession. He's also worked on Game of Thrones. He will be an executive producer, a writer, and direct some of the initial episodes from what we know so far. So it's giving prestige TV. What I mean by that is that we can expect darker themes being explored. We can expect complex character arcs. Hello to the moral ambiguity of Dumbledore. And we can also expect a really high production value from this TV show. Now the reason you're here, let's talk about casting. We have the first 6 names of the series officially confirmed by HBO. We have our Professor Dumbledore, Professor McGonagall, Hagrid, Snape, Professor Quirrell, and we have our Filch. Before we jump into individual character castings, I did some research into the characters kind of across the board and some things that we can take away from these initial 6. 4 out of the 6 actors that have been named so far have deep ties to the Royal Shakespeare Company. These are heavy hitters. The Royal Shakespeare Company is basically the Ivy Leagues of live theater.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
So what that tells us is that these are actors that know how to brood, that know how to monologue, and who know how to stare out a window with dark, dramatic lighting. Jeanette McTeer is our new Professor McGonagall, and if you've seen her in Me Before You, which is one of my personal favorite movies, you know she really has that tough but tender maternal role down. And it's gotta be 10 points to Gryffindor for her tie to the Wizarding World multiverse already, because she actually starred across Daniel Radcliffe back in 2012 in that period horror-style movie, The Woman in Black.
Daniel's great. He's really good. I hadn't worked with Daniel before, and he's a really, really good actor, and he's a very generous person, and he's a very real actor, and he's very, very clever and very thoughtful. And very funny. So he's delightful. We just have a really nice time. It's been a ball.
And then there's John Lithgow, who is our sole American actor. He was the first official announcement made, and he stirred things up mainly for being American. But let us not forget, we have had a whole slew of Brits playing roles like Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr., and Spider-Man. twice. So I think it's okay for an American to have a wand on this one. And also, if you haven't seen John Lithgow play Winston Churchill in The Crown, just go watch that and then come talk to me about your concerns. Another really fun confirmation actor that has ties to the original series is Paul Whitehouse. He was cast in The Prisoner of Azkaban, and he actually played Sir Cadogan in the movie, but his scenes were tragically cut, so it seems like cosmic justice that he would get a full-time gig back at Hogwarts. I really don't have much to say about Nick Frost as Hagrid. I'm not super familiar with his work. He's mostly been a comedic actor thus far, and this will be a bit of a departure for him. I loved the post that he put on Instagram when they announced his role, giving a little shout out to Robbie Coltrane. I thought that was super sweet. I did see, unfortunately, later he had to take the commenting ability off on this post because allegedly he was getting a lot of negative comments for taking a project that had ties to J.K. Rowling. The same goes for me and Luke Thallin. He seems younger than I was picturing Quirrell, but I kind of love that. He's not hard to look at, and anyone, again, who can play Hamlet for the Royal Shakespeare Company has that kind of darkness and depth that I think we're all looking for in some of these characters. So let's talk about Papa Essieru as Snape. Many fans have raised eyebrows at best at the announcement of this casting and have hid under the thinly veiled critique that Snape is described as greasy and unpleasant and most notably white. But here's the thing. This is a story, and in the age of Hamilton, are we seriously still gatekeeping who can play a character based on race? So let's talk about what a faithful adaptation really means, because if it means replicating the physical description of characters, then a lot of really iconic casting have already broke those rules. Emma Watson did not look like book Hermione, but she was Hermione. She was sharp and intense and loyal, and she embodied the character so fully that we all accepted her. And in the books, Harry has green eyes, and it's described over and over again as something iconic and a crucial detail, but they didn't make Daniel Radcliffe's eyes green in the movie. And yet we let that slide because Daniel was Harry. Nobody was also insisting that he be a real-life orphan. Snape is a deeply complex character, one of the most demanding roles in the entire series, and he is defined by pain, pride, love, sacrifice, not by the shape of his nose. If Papa Essieru brings that kind of complexity and depth to the role, and maybe even something new we haven't thought of or seen before, does it really matter that he doesn't fit your headcanon? The backlash on this feels especially tired because this person is a creation, and he should be defined by his emotional complexity, not by his complexion. The magic of storytelling is that it evolves. And the world we live in now demands a richer, broader, and more inclusive way of telling this story. From what I can tell, Essieru has the depth and intensity to bring something new and magnetic to the role. I don't hear faithful adaptation as carbon copy. To me, it's being faithful to the soul of the story while telling it for today's world. Loving Harry Potter has always been about more than loving a story for fans. It's about feeling seen and finding magic in dark times. And also, it's about learning that love, loyalty, and bravery matter more than blood and power. That's the legacy the books gave us. And while we're facing controversy, let's talk about the author, J.K. Rowling, as well. Loving the story doesn't have to mean loving J.K. Rowling.
He who must not be named did great things. Terrible. Yes, but great.
She's a brilliant world builder. She also continues to do real harm to the trans community. Both things can be true, and it's uncomfortable, and it should be. She will be involved in this show, and she will continue to benefit financially from the franchise. That doesn't erase the impact of her words or the damage they do. And yet, There is a way to move forward without bullying the actors who accepted a role and have nothing to do with her views. That is not social activism, that is misdirected cruelty. We can hold space for the harm created by J.K. Rowling while still supporting the cast, the creative, and the fans that are trying to just reclaim the magic on their own terms. I would say that is the most Harry Potter thing of all. Navigating the moral gray area and choosing what kind of person do you want to be in the face of them. And personally, I'm here for that. This series is expected to air in late 2026 or early 2027. Thank you so much for being here and watching. This has been your fandom news-ish update. Don't forget to subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you again for more magical thoughts and chaos.